Hi guys and girls, I'm Obsidian Ant and welcome to Elite Dangerous Imperial Runner. As you probably know by now, I'm intending to outfit my clipper with the best possible fitting I can actually achieve. And in order to do that, I'm trying to make as much money as possible. Here I am then in the middle of a smuggling run, but I'm about to get interdicted. Interdiction is a little bit harder now in 1.4 and it looks like I'm about to foul this one pretty miserably. As much as I would love to stand and fight this pirate, I don't have any weapons equipped on my asp, so it's a case of running as quickly as possible. Now you just saw the pirate appear there to my left and bypass me to the back. He's now shooting at me, so my shields are holding up. Quite obviously, I'm not particularly worried at this point. It's just a case of keep boosting away until my SFD cools down and I can then get away. So you saw there very quickly I've got a few smuggling missions there, actually quite a lot of smuggling missions, and just one transportation mission. Now most of these are worth quite a significant amount of money, so I really do want to get them there. This run should get me enough money to outfit my clipper with some of the outfitting modules that I actually want to equip it with. And there we go, FSD charged up and I'm ready to jump again. I'm actually very close to the station here, and as usual the pirates or the police seem to interdict you when you're nearly at your destination, pulling you out of super grooves and often knocking you back quite a distance. Now what also seems to happen from time to time, especially when you're doing multiple smuggling runs like I'm doing here, is that you make it just a few more seconds before getting interdicted again. Fortunately on this occasion that didn't happen, so I was able to jump out the station right here. The only thing left now is to get past the station security forces without being scanned. Now, as far as I'm aware, they won't shoot me. At least I don't think they will shoot me. I'll just get fined. But either way, I don't want to get fined. And you saw another ship just spawn in or jump into this area to my right on this occasion. Now, sometimes it happens that a pirate will jump in behind you like that and start attacking you even though you're right by the station. More for them, because as you approach the station they will get into the defensive perimeter and inevitably the security forces and or the station end up killing them. So here I am then in the station about to dock, and I'm going to hand in this smuggling mission. Some of the times you'll find that you can get more than one smuggling mission to a station, other times it's a case that you only get one, but in either event, in this particular run, they were worth quite a lot of money. Now this was obviously recorded just before Frontier decided to nerf the smuggling missions, and they're now no longer paying out at quite the rate they are here, but they still do pay out at a reasonable cost at any rate. So how much was this particular mission? It was in the millions, I'm not quite sure of that, or perhaps it was just in the hundreds of thousands, but either way we are about to find out when the bulletin board eventually wakes up. 700,000 was that? Not a bad run. We've obviously got a few more here, so I'm going to do that, collect all the money here, and then cut to outfitting the Imperial clipper. I think you've seen one run, so that will do for now. I'll catch you again in a moment. So you will know if you've been watching this series that I purchased this Imperial clipper a little while back. That was when they had some low rank requirements, unlike now when they've actually got 0 rank requirements due to the new Emperor. But either way I got hold of it, and I got hold of it at a 20% discount, but I didn't have much money so I couldn't equip it, but now I can outfit it. So here we are in a bit of an accelerated time-lapse mode outfitting it, and I'll run down very briefly what sort of outfitting I've actually got here. Now at this particular time I went for plasma weapons. Later in the end I did go for beam lasers. I thought they were a little bit better. I did try using the plasma ones and I didn't actually manage to capture the footage of that, but I kind of wish I did, because you would have seen how terrible I actually am with using them. I missed on every single shot. So beam lasers are a little bit better, more powerful, and I've got cannons on the class 2 hardpoints. I've got a 7B shield as well as a 6B shield cell bank. I've also outfitted it with a whole bunch of other shield cell banks, because you probably know that when the shields go down on a clipper they go down pretty much for good, so it's a good idea to try and keep them up for as long as possible. The smaller size shield cell banks will allow me to recharge a single ring of the shield, where I'll reserve the larger shield cell bank for the full recharge. I'm also tempted to upgrade the ship's hull and go for better armour, but I'm not going to do that just yet. I want to see how things carry on as they are. I'm down to 17 million, and the rebuy cost of this is around about 3.5 million already, so that's enough for now, I suppose. I'll tell you what though, the thing I really wasn't expecting is just how badly I would suck at combat within the Clipper. Now, I've done a lot of combat in every ship up to the size of the Vulture, and you probably know combat isn't my strongest skill at any rate, and I tend to try and rely on manoeuvrability. I've only just started getting the hang of trying to keep on the target's tail, keeping behind the target on the rear of their thrusters, where generally they can't shoot you unless they've got turrets. Now, that's something I'm trying desperately to do here in the Imperial Clipper, but the ship just doesn't have the manoeuvrability for me to do it. Now, I have it on good authority from a lot of other players that have Imperial Clippers that you can indeed keep on your target's tail when using this ship, but it looks like it's a skill I'm just going to have to practice. For now though, I'm going to keep trying to pass the target as I've been doing up till now, which generally speaking means I'm lancing a lot, and that's not really ideal. Now, the shields on the Clipper, especially the 7B, the 7A if you can afford it, do hold up very, very well. But I've found that as soon as the shields drop, you're in trouble. The hull really doesn't stand much damage on from these ships at all. So I suspect I really should have gone with that shield, the hull upgrade and the armour upgrade, maybe a reinforcement package as well. I've certainly got the slots, although I want to try and keep the ship as light as possible to try and keep the manoeuvrability up. So that was just a test out in one of the local extraction sites. After that, I moved a couple of hundred light years across to a new system, and the reason for that is because here is the conflict with the Emperor's Dawn. The Emperor's Dawn is the faction that is fighting against the Empire. They do not want and did not want Arissa Lavini Duval to be coronated as Emperor. Well, unfortunately for them, that has actually happened already, but that hasn't stopped them from fighting. So I'm out here to join in that fight, in that community goal. What I didn't expect to find was one of these luxurious stations. I don't come across these very often. In fact, I haven't seen one for many months. Some of you have perhaps never seen one at all, so with that in mind, I'm going to shut up and let you take in the sights. These are truly beautiful stations, and it's a pity perhaps that there are not more of them about. But then again, it's a fact that due to their rarity, it's always such a wonderful pleasure to actually see them. So I had to sell a lot of the other modules in order to get here. I only had around about a 12 or 14 light year jump range, so I sold all those to make my ship a bit lighter, got myself a large full scoop so that I could do the 200 light year journey to get here. And now I'm once again outfitted my ship to get a combat build on it. Namari is the system where the community goal is. There's some conflict zones there, and I need to jump into them and choose the faction that I want to fight for. Now, it's clearly going to be a test of what we already know to be my very poor combat skills, but nevertheless, I can always run in the end, I guess. We'll just have to see how that's going to play out. And perhaps it would be a bit of entertainment for you guys if all else fails. And here I am at Hughes Hub. This is in Namari. There should be 2 community goals here, one for the Emperor's Dawn and the other for the Empire. Now I'm not going to look at both of these. I want to see what they're both about. I want to see how well they're progressing. I already know which side I'm going to choose, but it's good to know what your opposition is up to as well. Now, as with all these community goals, they have multiple tiers that the community between them have to reach. These goals are on the right there, and they are the accumulated community goals that all the players actually achieve between them. And the Emperor's Dawn actually isn't doing any very well here at all. They haven't even unlocked the 1st or 2nd tier. The higher up you get, the better reward you get. The goals there on the bottom left show what you will unlock yourself. So if you're in the top 5%, you will get whatever the reward is at the 1st tier, and so on. The higher the higher tier that the community unlocks, the better your reward will actually be. So that's the Emperor's Dawn then. I guess here in Namari no one actually wants to fight for the Emperor's Dawn. And we can see here straight away that the Empire is doing a lot better. They've already unlocked the 1st tier and they're quite well on their way to the 2nd tier, meaning that you don't even have to do that much. Just get in the top 100% and you will get a fairly decent reward. The rewards here, of course, are nowhere near as good as the Emperor's Gift, the new Emperor's Gift community goal that happened over the weekend, but unfortunately I wasn't quick enough to actually get in that. And I know some people were getting around about 10 million just for delivering a single slave. Getting in the top 100% was enough to unlock a significant amount of money. But different community goals, they all do their own thing. Talking of community goals, actually, there's one coming up this week on the 22nd of October, and that's a result of the campaign that I started with the videos to get a station built within one of the local nebulas. Now Frontier have confirmed that is indeed going ahead, and I mentioned some of the details for that in a recent video. They haven't confirmed yet which nebula it's going to be in, but well, we know it's going to be a local one, so hopefully well under 1,000 light years to it, probably maybe 500 or 600 light years, so it certainly won't be any further than the furthest station that we currently have. And of course I'll be making a video all about that later this week. For now though, let's get out there and get on with this Imperial War. This is actually a lovely looking area to have a conflict zone in. Elite has got a lot of wonderful areas in it, so it's nice to see these conflict zones making use of them. Having the one spawned right above a ring system here makes for a great backdrop. This is a high intensity conflict zone, and when I got there I had absolutely no idea just how well I was going to hold up. But you can already see that I've lost one ring on my shields, and I'm doing my typical tactic here of flying directly toward the target. Still having a bit of trouble trying to maneuver this clipper in any reasonable way. I should really try to be getting past it and making use of the boost thrusters, which I did do there, but by the time I've turned around again, the Anaconda has also turned around. So, well, the NPC is obviously a little bit better at the combat than I actually am, and I had to use a shield cell bank already. So I guess in the end, over the course of the next few weeks where I use this clipper, you should hopefully see my combat skills with it improve a bit. I did really like the Vulture. The Vulture was quite a bit more manoeuvrable, and I was actually getting to the point where I could keep right on the back of the enemy ship, as I mentioned earlier in the video. But it's something I just don't seem yet to be able to do with the clipper. Now the Anaconda here is using quite a lot of chaff, which means I unlock the target and essentially use my gimbaled weapons as fixed weapons, but due to the fact that the clipper doesn't have very good hardpoint placements, you saw they're very wide there, it makes it a little bit difficult to actually hit the ship with any real force. But at any rate, the Anaconda's now down to what, nearly 44% on its hull, 45%, and well, it's on the way out. So it's a little bit confusing actually, because those ships have the name Imperial Navy vessel, and obviously I'm fighting on behalf of the Empire here. The community goal states that Senator Petraeus has given the local faction here the authority to fight on behalf of the Empire, so coming up against Imperial Navy vessels does seem a little bit odd. But then again, I suppose the Empire's Dawn is an Imperial faction. It's going to be very interesting to see how this story plays out, because Orissa Lavini is not a legitimate Duval. She was the illegitimate child of the previous emperor, And although he did declare her his heir before he died, nonetheless there's a lot of people that say she shouldn't be on the throne, so I wouldn't be surprised at some point to see the Empire descend into civil war. That would certainly make for an interesting turn of events, wouldn't it? Now, as you're watching this video, if you've got any tips for me in relation to combat, do please give them. I've been playing the game for plenty of time now, but I've only just got into the large ships, so doing combat here in these ships is an entirely new experience for me. So I know a lot of you have already got clippers, I know a lot of you have got pythons and even anacondas, so whatever suggestions and tips you can give me, do please provide them. I'd love to see what you've got to offer. And on top of that, maybe you can suggest a decent build for me. This one, whilst it seemed pretty good, I don't think it is exceptional by any means, so any tips and advice you've got is most welcome. So I've got one bond here, one combat bond, and decided I might as well leg it and run away, try and find some different zone where I can perhaps provide a bit more efficiency in the combat. So with that in mind, I moved over to an entirely different system. I was hoping that here I would find a low intensity conflict zone. It seems that although I can manage quite well in extraction sites and nav beacons, as soon as I get into conflict zone my pants fall around my ankles and I just get damaged too badly. Part of that perhaps is because I just have a lot of trouble managing so many targets. But like with the other things, hopefully that would improve over time. That is after all what this series is all about. Now the community gold here seems to have unlocked an even higher tier than the one over in Namari, and I couldn't see a community gold there for the Empire Dawn, for the Emperor's Dawn for some reason, but the text here reads exactly the same as what it did in the previous system, so the only thing different is that it's for a different system. So let's get out there and see if we can find one of those low intensity conflict zones. So there was indeed a low intensity conflict zone here, and I'm about to jump into it. I've no idea if I'm going to do any better here. Chances are probably not, but there will be some smaller ships here. Smaller ships can still be a problem for a clipper because obviously they can get behind you a bit faster, but NPC ones aren't very likely to be able to do that. Of course, I need to make sure that I choose the correct faction here. I'm fighting against the Emperor's Dawn as I was previously. I'm all for the Emperor in the Imperial Runner series after all. So here we got an Imperial fighter. This is one of the new ships that's going to be available to play in CQC when patch 1.5 hits in later on in the year. There's also some theories that it may also be one of the fighters that become deployable from the larger ships when we eventually get deployable fighters. Now we don't know when we're going to get deployable fighters, but we do know that we are going to get them. So yep, my Imperial clipper is making short work of the Imperial fighter here. That's nice and simple, nice and easy, just how I like it. So, well, I've got a larger ship here, I've got some very powerful weapons, so that's to be expected. What we got to see though is how we perform against the slightly larger ships. Now, vultures have very powerful shields. The NPC ones don't always have very powerful shields, but they can do. It does depend quite a bit on their rank. Now, the rank of this is dangerous, and I have already got rid of one ring of his shield. Now, one of the differences I find here in the conflict zones is that it's quite common for you to end up a target of multiple ships. Quite often, multiple NPCs will just turn their guns on you without much of provocation other than you being on the opposing side. That's something that doesn't tend to happen in hazardous extraction sites or indeed any of the other extraction sites, and it doesn't happen in nav beacons. So it's one of the reasons I do sometimes struggle here a little bit in these sort of areas. Now, doing quite well against the vulture here. The beam lasers are actually very good. I'm probably firing a bit too much here on the frag cannon though, to be honest. I should really wait until his shield's down before firing that. And I'm going to be out of ammo before much longer. You can see I'm down to quite low in terms of ammo already. Now I'm losing a bit of shield here as well. That's all coming from the vulture. It doesn't seem that anyone else is firing at me at this particular time. The vulture's using his plasma weapons. They're the ones that I just couldn't use for the life of me earlier. I like the idea of them because obviously they do significant damage, as this vulture's ones are doing to me, but well, There we go. He's fired some chaff anyway, and I'm going to switch to fixed. Nope, he's still got the chaff going. Come on. So even with his shields down, his hull steam still seems to be holding up. That certainly never seems to be the case when I'm flying a Vulture and I've got an Imperial clipper on my tail. As soon as the shields are gone, whenever I've flown one of them, the hull is paper thin and just pretty much goes straight away. But at any rate, he's just about to go as well now. Well, that's the hope anyway. So I'll stay in this zone as long as I can. It probably won't be that long. As I've said, for me, I tend to pop in and out of conflict zones very, very fast, and it's one of the reasons I tend generally to not play in them. But, you know, I really want to do this community goal. I really want to get involved in it. So I smashed my way through a few ships here and didn't have too much trouble till I come up against this Python here. Now, I probably didn't check at the time, but the rank of this Python is elite, and perhaps I should have kept away from it. You can see my shields are down, and pretty much instantly he's tearing through my hull here. Lost a quarter of it already, rapidly approaching a half of my hull down. So it was time to get out of there. I was hoping I was going to make it way in time before I take a 3.5 million loss here on the Clipper. The drives did decide to charge up in the end, and yep, I made it out. Quite a lot of damage taken though. So, well, I think that marked the end of my foray into the conflict zones. Gonna need a bit of practice yet before I start coming back to these places. Maybe it's something I can try in a Vulture, or maybe I should just get some more practice in some extraction sites and some nav beacons. As I said earlier, if you do have any tips for me, I'd really appreciate it, especially if you can recommend a decent Clipper build. At any rate, it was time now to head back and hand in the few little combat bonds I did make, as well as get repaired. Now, for some reason, I had a little bit of trouble with the recording on here. It all come out a little bit laggy. Part of the file was corrupt, and it seems to happen from time to time, although not too often. But I'm using it because I want to show you me handing in the community gold bonds. So I hope you can bear with the nature of the poor frame rates here. It's just how it goes sometimes. So there I am in the top 100%. I'm going to get a 500,000 credit bonus. Not much at all. I'd like to get in the top 40% maybe, but I really don't see that happening anytime soon at the moment. Maybe I'll head out that way again soon, but for now I think I'm going to have to leave it as that. If all pilots were like me in the Empire, I think the Emperor's Dawn would be off to a very good success rate. Fortunately though for Arissa Lavini, well, there's plenty of other decent pilots out there. As always, thanks for watching, and I'll catch you guys and girls next time. I'm out here in my Imperial Clipper. This is one quite stunning system, and I'm out here making myself some credits. Since you saw me last time on Imperial Runner, I've been through quite a number of career options. Mining is where you left me at the end of the previous episode, and it's something I've spent quite a bit of time doing. We'll get to that in a little while. I'll let you know exactly what went on there.